Welcome to the Seriously Social podcast with your host, Simone Douglas. Our guest today is inventor Shem Richards, founder of Goldilocks. He details the exciting new product, the Goldilocks suit, designed for new parents to give them an all-new way of monitoring their baby's health.
So today I'm joined on the red chairs by Shem Richards from Goldilocks Suit. Shem, now this is a pretty fascinating piece of technology that you have in development, and I understand that you're in the middle of finalising a round of venture funding, yeah?
Yeah,
that's
correct. Yeah, so we've got another week to go on our equity crowdfunding that we're doing, but that's part of a bigger seed round that we're getting from more traditional investors. But we felt in this kind of environment of a fair bit of uncertainty to kind of ask money from a small amount of money from lots of people rather than a large amount of money from one person. So that's kind of why we went the crowdfunding route. But
yeah, that makes sense. And if there was ever something that is going to be successful in crowdfunding, it's a piece of technology that's going to help me be a better parent, I would have thought.
and that's the beauty of Goldilocks, like that. It's very much a consumer-facing product, and yeah, it's perfect for something like crowdfunding as well. Yeah.
So can you give us a bit of a backstory as to what the Goldilocks suit is and how you started thinking about developing a wearable of this nature?
Yeah, okay. So about 4 years ago, I guess it was, we were in the hospital with our firstborn, Amali. And everything was perfect, and she was really cute, and we had all the support we had at the hospital.
Yeah.
And then we brought her home, and walked in the door, and she started crying, and we're like, I learned all about this before, but I've just forgotten it because I'm sleep deprived and I'm, just oversensitized, and this is all completely new to me, and nothing can really prepare you for bringing a baby home.
Can't, yeah.
So, I guess, in hindsight, this is probably my male side, engineering side coming out. I'm like, right, let's come up with a solution to this.
Yeah.
And, in hindsight, maybe empathising with my wife a little bit more and working her through it would have been better. But, so I'm a medical device engineer. That's my background, and I work with doctors all the time about giving them information about their patients, how they're feeling, how they're coping when the patient can't communicate with them.
Yeah, wow, okay.
So I thought, well, that's what I do. Yeah. Why can't we do that with babies, and why haven't we done it before? So we chatted to lots of parents, to get an idea of, do you have the same problem and how would you like to be it solved? And so the solution we came up with was building into the singlet, so something the baby wears anyway.
Yeah.
It's not anything new, we're not adding anything to the process. Building into the singlet little sensors, which picks up how hungry they are, so looking at their feeding patterns, looking how well they're sleeping, looking at their core temperature, the temperature of the room, and then development goals. And I guess our real core thing is just letting parents know this is normal. Your baby's crying, they could be hungry, that's perfectly normal, and you can understand that. And then if it's not normal, to say, hey, this isn't normal, you need to get this checked out or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Cool. So in terms of the market for this, so are you still developing the suit, or the suit is developed?
Yeah, so we put our order in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yesterday.
Oh wow, that's super exciting.
To get 100 suits, which will be part of our pre-production run.
Yeah.
And a pilot release that we'll do in November. So the money we're raising is really to finance the commercial launch. All the production, all the prototyping has already been done.
Yeah, fantastic. Where do you expect to be your biggest market? Is it going to be national? Is there a specific country that you think this is going to take off faster than others?
Yeah, well, to be honest, the Australian market is really good because of the amount that parents spend on babies.
Yeah.
It's quite a high value market. And it's also local, so it's easy for us to access, and most of our contacts in there. So we'll definitely start in the Australian market. And at the moment, it's a really good time to approach the Australian market, because when you look at all your Google Trends and analytics from the first lockdown that we had close to 6 months ago, if you look at all your Google Analytics and trends, there's a real spike of people searching for a gynecologist, and a couple of months later, Harmony test and a few things like that. So we're expecting a bit of a baby boom to happen about when we launch as well, which, when we're still social isolating and we're still, particularly in Victoria, still locked down. This is really helpful to complement your midwife or GP that you normally go to, and you can't access at 3 a.m. in the morning or, in lockdown.
Absolutely. And I guess, coming from that biomedical engineering background too, where you're used to interfacing with doctors and nurses, is the app that's attached to this going to equip the parent with the language that they might need to use if it says, your baby, so this behaviour is not normal, go get some advice? Will it give you some indicators like their temperature's X and it should be Y, or is it? That's a good point, because there's no point saying, your baby's got a high temperature and then just leaving it at that. So we partnered with some local midwives. The Baby Manual's one of them, and then Wink Sleep is another one. He's a sleep psychologist from Flinders. And we've created videos and little self-help things with them, so that when it says your temperature's high, there's a little video from them saying, and a checklist saying, hey, have you tried, putting a wet flannel on them? Have you tried taking their clothes off? Have you looked at putting them in these fabrics instead of these fabrics? Cool.
And then, at the very end, check with your GP and midwife, if this persists, type thing.
So what I'm hearing is that you've kind of created the perfect marriage of sensors and almost a baby manual that as new parents we all go looking for, and everyone goes, no, it doesn't exist.
Well, perfect. Yeah. If it turns out like that, that's what we're aiming for, and that's how we're trying to get it. So.
If you woke up tomorrow and you pre-launch and everything had gone 100% according to plan, what will be the best outcome for you?
I mean, the best outcome is for a couple of parents to come to me and say, hey, this saved my life. This really helped me and helped me get through this, kind of tricky period that we have. I guess like kind of indicator of sales, we're probably looking at around 3,000 to 4,000 units to sell over the first year. That's kind of what we're kind of aiming for. We'll see how that goes, because we've seen with Corona recently,
It's so
a lot of things are out of our hand, and supply chain. We've brought a lot of our supply chain onto Australia in response to getting a lot of things stuck overseas
from
when we were doing our prototyping. So that should help from that point of view, but that's kind of what we're aiming for, and what our marketing research kind of shows we can achieve. So.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a pretty amazing first step. But I think also, if you haven't had kids and gone through that first baby experience, it's really hard to explain to someone just the amount of mental angst and uncertainty you go through. So I think anything that you can do that mitigates that, it has a ripple effect on the rest of society as well. So if you think about, who are all those people that those new parents are interfacing with? Are they employers? They've got staff, all these other things, and just this level of uncertainty around their child that like flows on everywhere else. So that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you look at the research, and happy, confident parents have happy, confident kids. Like that. It's just kind of a flow-on effect that you think it's a small thing helping anxiety, but it actually really helps with the development of the child. That's kind of what we're hoping for as well, to kind of help the future of Australia, or the future of families around the world, really, to be more happy and confident in these kind of fairly anxious times, I guess, that we're in at the moment.
Do you think that there's an opportunity down the track, with the evolution of your company, to get to a point where maybe you come up with a wearable indicator for, pre-teens and teens around that kind of stuff? Like and I might be biased, like I may have a 10 and a 13-year-old son, but they're, I notice them having some kind of an indicator of what's going on for them. So rather than it being for parents, because I think they get to a point where they're individuated, they need to learn their own mood moderation and things, but I think giving them biofeedback about their moods in terms of what's happening for them would give them a quicker path to that moderation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see an application there. But I think once you've got a product which, can help someone understand other people's feelings, there's so many avenues that you can go from just babies. Think disability sector, think aged care, think ICU patient, think pet. There's so many different aspects where you can go, and we certainly have a pipeline with a number of different avenues.
Cool.
And teens is really an interesting one to understand. Get them to understand their emotions and what triggers them as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the biggest challenge you guys may well have as a company is deciding which ones to pursue and not to pursue, because like you said, the possibilities really for the tech that you've developed are pretty endless. But as a company, the challenge is diverting from your niche too much to a point that you cease to be successful, you lose market relevance. How are you going to balance those two impetuses, I think?
Yeah, good question. I think it's just been really focused on your problem and your problem statement and what you're trying to address, and when you feel like you've addressed that well,
then you can play somewhere else.
Then you can play somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's why we're really focused on the baby market at the moment, because we feel like we've done the research to get the pain point. We feel like we know where the market bulk beachheads are, and we can target that. And there's so many more avenues in the baby space as well that we're looking at with future developments.
I love that you're working with midwives too, because they are so critical in that whole birthing process, but also the postpartum care, and it's great to have pretty much the people that are on the front line working with you and informing you guys as you develop that product as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We wouldn't be where we are without midwives. Because we have a good insight into what questions we had as a parent, but they have insights into hundreds of parents, and can give, in a 10-minute conversation, can give so much better insights than what we can get from, speaking to 100 parents, because they live and breathe it and have been doing it for years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we'd be lost without their insight and their expertise, and they're also really good at knowing what helps. Helps with the parent as well, because they've answered the question so many times. They know the best way to kind of answer that question. Which was kind of interesting as well, because when we first started out with the product, we were like, the temperature, take temperature for example, right? Parents want to know what the temperature is, so we'll tell them it's 37.6 degrees. And the midwives were like, no, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Tell them it's in the green zone.
Nice. Yeah.
Don't tell them the exact temperature because then parents come to us and say, hey, it's 37.6 degrees and normally it's 37.3 degrees. What's causing this? What can we do?
Yeah, there's a variable.
Yeah. And so they say, you just use traffic lights. It's in the green zone, it's in the orange zone, it's in the red zone.
Yeah.
Red zone, you need to do something about it. But before that, you don't need to. And you don't need to worry about it. It's not something you need to look at all the time and obsess about. It's just something that babies have fluctuations in temperature. And
same as us. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think that the Goldilocks suit is probably going to become the baby shower gift of choice very quickly post-product launch officially. And I think it should definitely for first-time parents. Thanks so much for joining me on the red chairs today. And hopefully your crowdfunding goes superbly well. We'll definitely share it on our channels and see if we can't help get it a boost.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Loved it.
Thank you for listening to the Seriously Social podcast. See our website for more details at www.socialmediaaok.com.au/podcast. Check the show notes for credits, music used in the program, and more details about our guests.